Hello, my name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and we're recording a one GM, one player session. First, for a setup for a series of Hearts of Wulin, which is a game of wuxia fantasy role play and melodrama. I designed the system and I co-wrote the rules with Joyce Cheng, with Elin Wang offering expert cultural sensitivity reading for that. I'll have a link in the notes for where you can get Hearts of Wulin if you haven't seen it. So we've got a couple of purposes here. One is that Sherry wanted to play a Hearts of Wulin game, a one-on-one Hearts of Wulin game. But I also wanted to do it because I wanted to give us a chance to look at what a one-on-one game means, especially in a loose PBTA structure. We've seen some of that with Knights Black Agents solo ops, and they've done some Cthulhu Confidential material on that. But my theory, at least for Hearts of Wulin PBTA, is it's actually very easy. And I have done the process that I came up with, which was to say, here is a stack of pictures of beautiful wuxia people. Pick which ones you want to have in your cast and cadre. And Sherry has taken it from there and has built that up, and we'll be playing with those stories. Entanglements will have the RPC and 2 NPCs, and we'll be building up things from there. So we're going to kind of keep our session short to no more than 2 hours to get things set up. So because one of the things about playing one-on-one game is it is incredibly stressing. There's a lot of the weight that normally you might be able to catch a breath from the other players. You don't do that with a one-on-one game. So we consider how we're going to do that. So we've got a couple of things to talk about. Sherry and I have played together for years. So I am going to shortcut a little on going over safety tools. But if you're playing at home or listening to this, I should say, know that we use lines and veils. We have hard lines on torture by the PCs. We also have a veil on any kind of sexual assault or anything like that, the implications of it, probably maybe even to point of a line on that. There are a few other things that we have as veils. Slavery is one. Is there anything else you want to mention on that quick list here?
I think eye injuries for you as much as anything else. So, yeah,
it's actually teeth.
Teeth. Okay, sure.
Yeah, that weird phobia going on with that.
That's okay. That's perfectly reasonable.
And so beyond that, we also use X card to mark that out, which we may do a little more informally. And then we have an open door policy, which may not apply here, but does mean that, like, if either of us feels ill or whatever, we're going to stop the game, and so on. Or if we're not enjoying it, like those are important boundaries to have even in a game like this. So let's talk about what you want out of a one-on-one game. What do you want in terms of themes and things like that? But also, we've got several different kinds of templates for our Wulin wuxia. We have the more classic things from the Jin Yong novels and so on, where there are martial powers and things that seem borderline magical, but aren't magic. But then we step a little further into a more heightened world where there exist fox spirits, and we have celestials and things like that operate. And that can be kind of low, like hidden away a little bit more or kept protected, or more common and more populous and more present. And then I think the next level after that is Shansha, which is, high fantasy, weapons of the gods kind of thing. So tell me, what is it that you would like? And then maybe let's think about what kind of like a palette we might add to that.
Oh, I think what I'm thinking is the classic wuxia with the martial arts as being excellent and seemingly maybe a little magical, but not actually magical to the world. And I would further like the chapters to be based on a mystery, like that we do. So
you want to integrate some of the numberless secrets tech in here? Okay.
yes, please. Yes.
Okay.
And then if we find that as you say, since there's a certain amount of pressure on a one person thing, but if we find that this works for us and we play longer, I wouldn't mind introducing fantastical elements, but those would be discovered by the characters.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Right.
Like something that they did not know of
Yeah.
or believe in.
So for the purposes of this, at least at this starting point, there's an unreality to say there actually being fox spirits or things like that that may change over time as we play. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. However, there's lots of legends and things like that, of course. So there's, but yes. So that's what I'm thinking right now.
So should we talk about what your concept is for the campaign first, or do you want to talk palette first?
Why don't we go ahead and talk palette?
Okay. So palette in this sense means the things that we might not see, or that maybe a little more corner case that you'd like to see. And the things that are more common in these stories that you're not as interested in seeing. It's not really a hard line, but more of a kind of what you want to lean into.
I think one of the things that I want to lean into is a sort of generational things where there's a generation, essentially my father's generation, where there were Wulin and people, and some of them are still Wulin and some of them aren't. And how they deal with that.
Okay.
And understanding their relationships with each other and how that is rolled out as time has gone on.
Okay. So changing generations, their history.
Generations,
okay.
Yes. And then also that sort of thing of course, the whole thing of like parents saying you can't do this because of this and wanting to prove them wrong, wanting to prove that you can do that, which is a strong theme for myself and my best friend.
Okay. And certainly we'll try to put that in the context of the classic Confucian ideals of familial fealty and piety and so on, then the tensions that can create. Okay.
Exactly. All right. And then I think those are the bigs that at least the first part of the campaign would come out of, with the other thing being that it's also a story about two families in some ways.
Okay.
And then the families they have around them, in that sort of way of like the families they've built and then the families that they have. How do I say that? It's the people you have around you who are like a family.
The familial network, that complex.
Yeah.
Okay. And if those are the things you'd like to see more of, that you'd like to see as set elements for this, is there anything in classic wuxia stories, storytelling, or details that you are less interested in, or maybe like let's avoid this kind of thing?
I'm trying to think. Right now, there's nothing that jumps out at me.
Okay.
If I come across something, I go, let's not run into that territory. I will tell you as soon as I realize it.
Okay.
But for the most part, I'm fairly open to, essentially wuxia, but city life kind of wuxia and mystery solving wuxia. So
All right. So city life, we have the different factions
Mhm.
that operate. In the case of the factions that we're talking about with your family, they are familial, as well as sort of organizational
Mhm.
factions. Okay. That makes sense. I'm trying to think if there's anything I want to add myself for that.
Yes.
Uh,
Is there something that you don't want to mess with, or that you would particularly like to try out?
no, I think I'm good with this. Uh, uh, oh, do you want us to kind of be clear about one thing? The factions, these groups here, that not all of them are familial.
Mhm, exactly.
The yours are, and that there may be others that are familial out there, but also uh, uh, the sense that while our Wulin people are engaged in the world and so on, they are still a little separate from the everyday life of people. I think we're going to lean more towards them not being as separate, because that's always seems to be your thematic, but we want to keep that in mind, that for common people or people outside of that world, it can be pretty terrifying what the Wulin get up to, and the dangers that they represent in transitions.
Certainly, and I think one of the things is to make clear is that where I say that they are sort of, some of them have stepped away from the Wulin world. Does that make any sense?
Right.
Is what I tell. So there's that sort of thing of some have separated themselves. They still have friends, but they themselves are not part of those worlds. So
That's
um,
a strong common thing, is that idea of leaving a departure or retirement in this. So let's talk about who your character is.
okay. So my first thing that I thought would be an interesting starting point is to play uh, the daughter of a magistrate. And the magistrate does not think that women should be magistrates. Now, there are female magistrates, but he is very opposed to that.
Okay. So here's the thing: is there's always that disconnect between magistrategum
As Wulin.
as an official, and Wulin and Wuxia.
Mhm.
So are you imagining that, like, if you are a magistrate family, then you probably aren't, like, you're probably a little bit oppositional and a little bit disconnected from the standard Wuxia Wulin world.
Correct. It would be the thing that in order to be a magistrate, you have to have studied the laws and passed the exams, and all of that stuff is the thing. So you can't be Wulin. You have pledged your allegiance to, essentially that city, that state, that empire at that
Okay.
point.
And are you suggesting that your family is that entirely that way, or
No, my father is. Does that make any sense? Wait,
okay?
what do you mean? Like,
I guess what I mean is, uh, uh, if your family is a family of magistrates, then you're just distinctly outside of the Wulin world.
oh no, no, I'm sorry. Um, my father is a magistrate. The faction that hence that our family is in, that like if you were to look at like with whom are the magistrates of that area of the city that they're in, that they work together and have things, and then they have. Does that make sense, or is that not?
I'm working on trying to figure out the distinction
Yeah.
between them being magistrates or not magistrates here.
Oh, okay, okay.
Like,
I always see it as they are. They may have been Wulin, they may have those skills, they may have respect among Wulin or not, but um
but they're
they
outside of
answer
Wulin society.
exactly,
Okay, okay.
exactly. you know, and if they do show up, it's as the sheriff, if that makes any sense. Does that make any sense? So,
They being your family?
and magistrate, if a magistrate does.
Okay.
So, okay.
So let's go on and
Okay.
look at who your character is then, who
Okay.
they are.
All right. So her name is Lulian, and she is his only child. And her mother passed away when she was young. She like vaguely remembers her mother. Uh, and so, and her, she has gotten training in martial arts. And that's because the friends of the family who live right next door and whose gardens are like next to their gardens. They actually have a gate between the two houses because over time they've become very good friends. Uh, uh, my father's friend who lives over there has arranged for me to have martial arts training. So he thinks that everyone should know how to fight if they can fight.
Okay. So probably an orthodox style. I mean, if you're working and training as a magistrate, we assume that there are some techniques that are learned by them. Okay.
Yes. And essentially I use a short staff that was apparently my mother's. It's a very short staff right now, and it's very heavy. And my fighting style is called Little God's Fond Redirection. So, which does not feel particularly fond when you get hit with it, but
is this a common weapon for this style? Is this something that you've adapted? Is this a unique item?
This particular staff is acceptable. It's usually a stave's style, though.
Okay. And that's a wood form. How does your character reflect that wood form in their fighting style?
So it is predominantly a style about waiting for that moment. And the whole idea is a sharp, painful, but not killing blow, like a sort of like teaching a lesson of don't do that. Don't do, it's very, it's almost meant as a form to stop the other person from wanting to fight you or from wanting to fight. Is very much it. So it's very much concentrated on weight. Take that strike, you know, to a joint, to a, you know, that kind of thing.
Sure.
So it's that sort of thing. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. And you took the loyal, devoted child, which allows you each session to call in a favor, letter of introduction, entrance for private ceremony, support, etc. They may have things that they want back for you. Essentially, you can get a thing if you have access to sort of communication on that. What else did you choose for your other two moves?
Okay, so I took another one that's called Lawless Kingdom. And it's when someone lies or breaks a promise to me and I find out, I gain a bond with them. In addition to my normal options, I can spend this to have one of their plans or activities go awry. I can say what happens. If I reduce this bond to modify a roll that is against them, I can add +2 to the roll.
Okay.
So if someone gets on my bad side, I can make things not fun for them. So that is, and then the other one is Trail of the Everlasting Hero, which is when I hunt someone, roll on a hit, you know exactly where to find them and can track them until you do so. On a 10+, they're not alerted and you take +1 forward against them. On a miss, someone unpleasant finds you first. And I think that just comes from being sort of in the middle of a household that's about, you know, finding things and keeping track of what's going on and that sort of thing. And so does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, you have accumulated a large roster of NPCs.
It is not large if you think of like the roles.
Okay. Allow me, by the way, for those of you who are at home, I will now screen share this, I apologize, modest roster of NPCs that Sherry has come up with. Let's see, there's the first 5.
Yeah.
There's another 5. There's another 5.
I haven't named, we won't do the agents of them.
And then another 2. So yes, we do have a lot of those. Let's start with the crucial question. What are your 2 entanglements? We have a general entanglement. It can be kind of just about status, all of those things, and a romantic entanglement, which can be about agape love, or it could be friendship, or it can be romantic love, or it can be crushing, or whatnot. And again, these are triangles. Your relation to one person that is complicated by another person. So which one do you want to start with?
I think I'm going to say the romantic.
Okay.
Is everyone assumes I will marry Fang Chun-Li, as did I, until I met Gan.
Okay, everyone assumes I would marry Fang
Chun-Li.
Lee.
I've got like last name first.
Yes. So, well, here's the other thing. So, until you met God. Yes. Now, there's a couple senses in which that you've phrased that. Is it that when you met God, you became uncertain, or is it when you met God, people were no longer sure that you were in love with or relation with or whatever with Fang?
I think it was more that I was shaken. Yes.
So people still assume
yes,
that this romance goes on. What about for Fang? Does Fang, do you think, has he expressed the sort of the converse? Has he assumed that? What will we see on screen as his initial attitude towards that relation between you and he?
I think of it as it's something that neither of us have discussed ever. Like it's always been assumed around us. Does that make any sense?
So it is purely about outsiders' perception of you.
Right. And
is it that
my own I don't,
but you don't know how Fang feels?
I do not know.
Okay. Did you have an affection? Did you believe that was going to be your thing?
I absolutely do.
But did you, before you met Gon, have romantic feelings towards Fang in some way or another?
And I think that's what it is I don't know.
Okay.
Does that make any sense? She's right there in that cusp of trying to figure her out.
Okay. So who is Gon?
Just someone I ran into. In essentially I think is associated with one of the ministers because he was coming out of those offices. There's the offices he came out of were Minister Iron Voice Jan. And he seems very nice. essentially he stopped me from getting pickpocketed. I mean, I was going to catch the pickpocket too. It wasn't, but anyway, he was very nice about it. And then he sort of took me on a tour around the area. It was very nice, very pleasant. Since then, he's kind of showed up, and whenever I'm out, and invited me to come and do things with him. Nothing, everything's always very public. Everything's always very pleasant and reasonable and things, but he seems to enjoy my company, and he strangely reminds me of Feng Chonli, but like more outgoing and more, I mean, just the fact that he's out doing things and on the streets, and clearly like he's very healthy. Whereas Feng Chonli is not.
What is his bearing? I mean, is he a little more officious like we saw with the inspector in Glorious Knights of the Tang, or is it a little more loose?
It's more loose.
Yeah.
He's more on the
what
charming
playbook
side.
do we assume that he is playing? If this were to be a game, what would we assume?
I would guess Bravo.
Bravo. Okay. All right. Okay. I think that gives us a sense. Do you want a bond with Feng or with Gan?
I think inherently it has to be with Feng.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. And
because anything that happens, there will still be that loyalty to Feng that I have to figure out.
So that is good. Now tell me, we have another entanglement to figure out. What is your general entanglement?
I'm trying to think of how to say it.
Sure,
so
absolutely.
I apologize.
Take your time. No.
So I suspect that, see, I have so many good ones here.
What one do you wish to start with?
Yeah, let's do the one that I want to start with. And I think that that's Wu Da is a promising young magistrate. My father does not realize Wu Da is a female. Is a woman.
Okay. And you do?
Oh, yes. So
why does that matter? And why is it important that you know?
So it is, my father very much does not think that women should be magistrates. He thinks that it puts them in more danger, and too much danger. I mean, it's very clear that he has a problem with that. But Wu Da is really spectacularly good.
Let me ask you this before you go further, because I think this actually sets up the thing that we need to answer here. Is that attitude sort of a general cultural thing? Is it
that's a
thing
question.
among that generation? or is it a thing up that your father has because of the death of your mother?
It's a thing that my father has because of the death of my
Okay,
mother.
so there are others that would accept this. Okay,
Absolutely.
okay,
Yes, absolutely. And essentially the thing is, I know that Wuda is a woman, and I help her hide that from my father,
okay,
if that makes any sense. So I help her cover.
okay. And what does Wuda think of you?
Um,
Apparently.
I I think Wuda and I recognize each other as two smart people who are a lot more aware than other people around us realize, if
Hmm.
that makes any sense. Um, so it's that as much as anything else. Uh,
Okay.
so
So do you want to take a bond with your father or with with Wuda?
that's probably Wuda is. It would be sensible to take it with my father, but
Uh, all right. So tell us about the characters that you've established that aren't in these entanglements that you want to definitely kind of have in the background, have on the table.
okay. Uh, so okay, so Chong Li's father is Feng Hao. And he's a prosperous merchant. And essentially that's he's the neighbor that lives like our gardens back up on each other. And he is the one who set me up with a person that he describes as his friend, Crystal Willow, who is my martial arts instructor. Um, I know from Crystal Willow that she knew my mother. She won't say anything much on it except to say that my mother was a very fine warrior and that she loved me dearly. But clearly there's some like those two. I mean, he knew her, Crystal Willow, and Crystal Willow knew my mother. So I'm not sure what's going on there, if that makes any sense. Certainly, Feng has always been very kind to me and very willing to sort of go around my father's back on this one thing, if that makes any sense. Um, Other than that, he is a very good friend to my father, and my father is a good friend to him. So, uh, his son, Feng Chun-Li, and I grew up together. We were literally born within a day of each other.
Mhm.
And since we've grown up together. I mean, that's just it. But Chun Li he's infirm, is what they say. His symptoms are very much like asthma,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So he can be fine, and then all of a sudden he has trouble breathing and all of that stuff. So his father can afford good doctors and all of that stuff. So there's a whole thing of, they keep they always have the medicines around and all of those things, and he has treatments and stuff. So he's healthy enough.
Mhm.
You just don't know when he's going to have one of those attacks. And it's a thing that the whole household jumps to when that happens.
Okay.
Okay. My father has um uh the Unstoppable Five, which are like his lieutenants or his men that work for and with him. And they are very different. They are part of that sort of office of the magistrates uh um that essentially I often am in there helping, like with the paperwork or those sorts of things. So they are sort of like almost like big brothers, super big brothers to me, if that
Okay.
makes any sense. Though they have changed over time, but the current ones are Sunset Chen, and he wears, ornate armor, and he's solid, and he's always there. He's the person that if you've gotten into trouble and you have to be hauled in, it will usually be Sunset Jen who shows up to do the hauling, if that makes any sense. He is a good fighter. He has excellent armor, but he's like clumsy. He's always like catching his wrist on something and getting a scratch, or like bruising his knuckles and doing things. So like Leanne's always patching him up, but it's like Band-Aid patching, that kind of like little wounds things, not big wounds. So he's a little bit, just because his armor is so awkward, he has a sort of awkwardness himself in some ways. The other one is Gentleman Ming. He is a sword saint of sorts, I guess. He has terrible taste in women. And
Okay.
but other than that, he is formidable if you get into battle with him. And then there's Temple Mountain Moo, who's a monk, who has ended up in the service with my father. He's not particularly talkative. He is often meditating. He forgets to eat. I have to check in on him. So he is sort of just not always right here in the world. And then there's Perfected Zong. He is like tricksy. His fighting style is very misdirection and things like that. He has very bad handwriting. When he puts the reports in, they have to all be recopied over. So terrible handwriting. And then there's Yin Chun, and he's very stealthy. People like don't really know. He's the person who does a lot of scouting things out and seeing what's actually going on, and that sort of thing. When he does know you, he's a real chatterbox. And he'll like come and sit by you and just talk and talk and talk. It's very much how he is. Okay.
Okay.
Let's see here. And then there's Wu Da, who is going through their exams. They've passed, all but the last one. And most of the exams are based on, of course, all the laws and the expectations and the percentages, owed and all of those things and that sort of thing. But they have fine martial training as well. And they have been placed in this sort of last set of preparations for those last exams to travel and work with another magistrate. And so
the idea that there is, not unlike the sort of civil service exams, that there is a set of magistrate exams that
exactly.
are conducted. All right. What is it that Lulian wants but can't get right now?
I think what she wants is for her father to acknowledge that she would be a good magistrate.
The father's acknowledgement. What is something that Lulian wanted and pursued and got that didn't turn out to be what she expected?
That's a good question. I think that she competed in a martial arts competition. And she did really well. certainly the best for her weapon in that. And her sense of the Wulin was that there would be like a sort of camaraderie that she would have access to. But it wasn't like that. The competitors who came already had their comrades and that sort of thing. And it's that whole thing of realizing that it isn't just one person. The Wulin is, you can be really spectacular as a single person, but that sort of romantic version of it, of those tales on the road, and bringing righteousness always entails a group of people, and you have to have those, and she doesn't know how you would find those people. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. And lastly, what's something that is important that we, the audience, know, but Lulian does not?
Oh, that's interesting. I think that what the audience sees, like every day, Lulian goes to play Go with Feng Chunli. But before they even start the game, they have this odd game that they themselves have played since they were children, where Lulian hides, like they hide part of like the board from each other. They each have a half of the board, and they lay out stones. Lulian lays out the white ones, and Chunli lays out the black ones. They call this game Moonlight and Mountain. And then they pick the thing up and they run what they've laid out through, like, by a set of rules. It's like the game of life in some ways, where things flip, but it's a different set of rules.
So it's kind of a cryptographic.
It's a cryptographic thing.
Okay.
But the thing is that we have always promised that we do the setups that we do that are based on like the signs. We always call it the signs. And like for Lulian, she always brings in like the moon's path. And then also she will open up the records from the magistrate's sort of diary set of like all the things that have happened, and like pick a sentence out and incorporate like the pattern of that into it, is what she's doing. She has no idea what it is that Feng Chunli does in order to come up with his pattern for the mountain.
Okay.
So that they can't, neither one of them can predict what the other person's going to put out, is essentially it.
Okay.
And then when it plays, the whole thing is that a good outcome is if the moon can make it all the way across the board to Chunli, and the bad is if the black makes it all the way across the board to Lulian, and otherwise it's just normal. Does that make any sense?
Mhm.
It's just a strange game that they've played since they're children, but they're weirdly intent on it every time. And when the audience sees it, the music always has like stingers and lots of suspense, like it means something.
So that's
Does that
very
make any sense?
abstract.
It's
What's
very
What
abstract.
is a specific thing, a secret that the
secret.
audience is aware of? In
Oh.
this, imagine, how when we play,
Yes.
other players often have like
Oh, yes.
something or
Okay, I
empathy.
gotcha.
So what is a thing that we know that when that person comes on screen or whatever, that we kind of, oh, this is
Oh,
bad,
no. Yeah.
or this is going to be good, like,
Or this is going to be, yeah. Okay. Ooh, that's interesting.
do you want to think on that one?
I think that there is a person that Feng Hao and Crystal Willow know that they are trying to keep away from me.
Okay.
Because they
Don't
know
have to
that they
give
will
us a
probably
name,
forgive me.
but we've seen them try to keep them away from you. Do we have a picture?
I will get you one.
Okay. So we have a mysterious figure
Mhm.
that we have seen in the early part of the season that has tried to come into contact with you, and they have interfered. Okay. So let me tell you about some of the Wulin martial societies.
Okay.
I think they're kind of important. There used to be a trio of strong Orthodox factions that held dominance. The Gallant Saber Guards, the Willow Branch Authority, and the Ox Pilgrim Escort Bureau. And
Willow Branch Society
Willow Branch Authority
Authority.
and Ox Pilgrim Escort Bureau. And about 15, 16 years ago, there, what you know is that they were splintered and destroyed and essentially disintegrated. People don't talk about that much anymore, so it's one of those sort of blank spots. Certainly your father and even the others, like Feng Hao, don't speak about it. So it is a thing. There are two martial societies that were important, but kind of outside of that trio, that they are not the shining, bright instruments of justice, of orthodoxy, the razors of the common people. But they definitely aren't explicitly villainous or anything. But they are out there. They probably represent the most important, wide-ranging schools right now, and they have different reputations depending on who you talk to, and they are kind of adversarial towards one another in a kind of a jealous way, not in an actively hostile way. And that is the Purity Sword Sect and the Many Flowers Society. And then lastly, within this sort of scheme, now keep in mind there are smaller groups, schools, things like that. Some of them are what might consider vassal families or vassal clans to these larger organizations of those two. The unorthodox clans, many of whom were destroyed by that trio, 20, 30 years ago. Of them, the one that remains, that is kind of spoken of in whispers out there, that people give an evil reputation to, is the Thousand Ghosts. Which of these 6 factions do you have a token from?
I have a token. of the Willow Branch Authority. And I found it. I think I found it in the bottom of our garden pond.
And what is this token?
Ring.
Okay. Your father, the Magistrate Lubao, is out. There were important matters towards the borderlands. There has been war between the Empire and its neighbors to the north. You are not in the desert borderlands. You are kind of outside that, where the woodlands and things begin in mountains. But you are one of the closer points to where that border is, and it has pushed back and forth over the years, maybe never gone over this central northern capital, but it has come close before, but certainly not in your memory. But there were some affairs. One of the judges from the region came and called on your father, and the matter seemed to be of enough importance that he actually gathered up all of his associates,
all of the Unstoppable Five,
and kind of left Wu Da in charge. And this is overwhelming for Wu Da, and Wu Da has been kind of running around a little thrown off. And Wu Da is in fact out when one of your servants comes and says, Mistress Lu Lian, there is she parses her lips, a ruffian at the door, at the front gate, but your father would give some words that if someone spoke them, then they were to be permitted in. And he has said some of them. But your father is not here, and I have told him that. But he is rather insistent.
Well, we must honor my father's promises. I will go and take care of it, though. All right? And I will go to the gate.
Okay. And you will see this man who looks rough for the road, a little bit worn, who has milky cataract eyes.
Oh no! All right.
But weirdly, he doesn't act like his vision is impaired or blind. So you're not sure whether that is a device or a disguise, or if he has some skill that allows him to have that. But he will say, "You are not Magistrate Lu Bao."
It is true. I am his daughter, and I apologize for the delay at the gate. Servant is uncertain how to proceed, but please come in. Let me get you some tea.
That is the right thing. That is the right thing.
Of course it is. And it's a pleasure to have you here. And she'll say, my name is Leon. Leon.
Mm-hmm.
And yours, sir?
I am sometimes called Headless Dog.
Headless Dog. Ah, a striking name.
And I am well known for my gift of fleet-footedness and my ability to undertake tasks and carry them out when I am attended to, and when I carry those tasks out, I am traditionally remunerated for those tasks.
Ah, I see. Well, that is an excellent choice in life. She goes, if she sort of stops and says, I do not currently have any tasks. Are you saying that my father has contracted with you?
No, I've in fact never met your father, and I had to be given directions to this place.
Ah, I see.
I was given a message
Ooh,
and
how about keys
inst-
first?
oh yes, please, please. Yes, yes, yes.
I was like, I was,
Yeah, yeah.
and she will make sure that he has fine, nice tea to drink.
This is delicious tea. I will say that I am somewhat parched from the road, and while tea is an excellent potable, perhaps I might impose on you, ask you to provide me with something with a little more bite to it.
I'll go and get the key, and I will bring you a bottle.
Good. We have an understanding. We have an understanding.
I am I am waiting to hear your message. I will take it down, so I will bring back some paper as well. All right.
Uh, and you go away and come back and he says, so
She
I
sets a
have the
bowl down
mess.
in front of him.
I I have the message on a little piece of paper,
Ooh,
and I was told that I would be given remuneration and
ah,
when I arrived here.
ah. Oh, it was all right. Um, uh, because we have standard courier fees. Would that be sufficient?
I don't know what your standard courier fees are, so
And she names them.
let's have you roll hearts and minds
All right. That
to get
sounds
him
lovely.
negotiated to a reasonable thing that doesn't cause you future problems.
Exactly. Let's see here. Of course, I got to look at hearts and minds. Such a
And what
good
do you want to
mood.
roll that with?
That's a good question. Um, let's see here. I think, I mean, I am curious, but this is probably more wisdom and flexibility. So water, probably.
Okay.
Okay. And then,
Oh gosh, we need a roller, don't
I
we?
know. I was like, where's that
Uh,
roller?
let me get one up. Hang on. Text roller. Go. That's going to ask me to put my name in. Close. There is the roller.
All right. Awesome. I will also paste it into the
Sure.
sheet.
And so you said water. So roll with a +1.
Okay. I'm going to do that. 36, and I add 1 to the results. So that's a 9.
That's a 9. So there is some grumbling, some back and forth. A little more wine is served. And finally, he will accept an amount of money that will not cause your father to go, where did this money go? And he will hand you a little like piece of wood, and kind of when you kind of like it, open it, like pull it apart. It's very cleverly concealed, and there's a little piece of paper in there.
Thanks.
And now I will take my leave of you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, he will head
Good
out.
to do. And she will point him to like an inn that's affordable, easily so with what he's
Oh,
going
yes,
to be.
yes, and in some people stay in inns. That's very, very, very generous of you to think that that would be a thing. Yes, most gracious of you. And you will
And what does
unroll
it say on the paper? I'm very
unroll
carefully,
this,
yeah.
and there is a message, and it is very clearly a simple cipher, and one that I think you have no problem pulling apart and disentangling. And it says, "Little fish in trouble, come to Hanging Bridge as soon as possible. Uh, 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 Compromised. Come now."
I know
And you
who
would know
Little
Hanging
Fish is.
Bridge there is a gorge
Mhm.
that is maybe a day's ride north of the city, just in the mountains there, that has a spectacular bridge that was kind of carved from the rock itself, and brought there, that is called Hanging Bridge for, as you might imagine, some particular reasons. And it's kind of a crossroads town.
Hey,
What do you
yikes.
do?
Mood dog can't leave here. There's things to be taken care of in the city. Sort of stand up, and I'm like, well, wait, do I know who Little Fish is?
No, you don't.
Interesting. All right, then. I think that I
You
may.
want to make a study roll, perhaps?
Yeah, I will make a study
Okay.
roll.
That way we maybe can you can figure some other things out, or draw
Yes.
back from your history, or make a declaration or
Yes.
two.
All
What do you want
right.
to roll that with?
Ooh. Now, how about I think again, water, maybe?
Okay.
Yes.
One minor modification to the rules that I want to point out to you, this is for future reference, uh, is because you don't have other PCs to do comfort and support on you,
Mm-hmm.
uh, if you have an element locked and you wish to clear it, you can spend a bond to clear the element.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I think that should be an easy way for us to work around that particular thing. It does mean that you probably want to be generating bonds.
Working on that very much.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to roll 2d6 and I'll add 1.
Okay.
So that is the exact same roll in the
Okay.
sense of it's 8 plus 1 is a 9.
So you have with that, then one
Then one
hold.
hold. Yeah, I think I will go through my father's correspondence, the most recent month or so, and look to see if I can find something that I go, oh, this is probably Little Fish because they're off. Essentially, that's been a letter or something from that area.
So is that a question or is that a declaration?
I guess that's a thing to the question, who is Little Fish?
Okay. So you will check through, and it's primarily kind of cross-referencing to some records mentioning Hanging Bridge. And you will see that there is someone who you guess is an undercover operative of your father's, who is named let's grab one of our names, Crystal Rat.
Ooh, Crystal Rat.
And they are like, you get the sense from the description, sort of general description and so on, that they come from the West, in a sense. So they probably come from a slightly different cultural group, and so on, slightly different ethnic group. So there may be ways to identify them, but they were clearly there investigating some rumors about one of the Wulin societies and their involvement in some hanky things.
Right.
I think you will get as well a sign and countersign kind of thing.
Oh, excellent. Okay. All right, that sounds perfect. I going to, let's see here. I think what it is I will go to make arrangements that I'm going to go and visit someone. Yes, I'm going to take 2 horses.
Okay.
And I will leave a note that I've gone to visit my cousin, who lives, well, actually, probably to the east instead of the west, but and that I will be back tomorrow.
Okay.
And before I leave, I will go and play my game with Lee, with Feng Chao Li.
Mm-hmm.
Say I'm leaving. I will be back tomorrow, I hope. I have to assist someone who's gotten themselves in trouble in Hanging Bridge.
That is far from the city.
It is. I'm taking horses. It's okay.
Are you sure you should be? What does your father say about this?
My father's gone.
Are you certain you should be doing this? Perhaps Wuda could take care of these matters?
Well, Dawn needs to stay in the city. There is plenty here to keep them busy. Do you think I can't do it?
I do not think that is the objection that I am raising.
No. It's that there's danger.
It is rather that I wonder what would be the reaction of your father when he returns.
He will not know about it. It will be fine.
You say that as if it is prophecy, and yet I do not think that you have such vision.
I sort of look at him and I say, someone has to do it, or something bad may happen.
Okay.
If I'm not back, tell your father.
You're not back. I will tell your father.
He won't be here for a few days, so.
Well, then I'll start with my father, and then I'll tell your father.
Exactly. See, sensible, aren't I?
I think we'll see you gather those horses together. The family staff kind of buys what you're selling, and I think we see you going through what's we've kind of now maybe a shot, the classic streets of our city here. What's a notable feature that we're going to see of this backdrop city that we're going to be working through?
Well, the area that we're on is called the Silver Banks, and it's because it's on the river that runs on the west side of the city. And it has, as she sort of riding along there, along it, you're seeing the docks there where there are all kinds of different boats that have sort of stopped along. It's sort of a major trading area, where there are these, I say, there's the docks. They aren't very far out or whatever, but there are places where the river clearly like gets very wide, and then they have longer docks. And there are these smallish buildings where they're clearly like, they belong to certain merchant consortiums and stuff, whereas people come into the docks, they're making deals for the different merchandise and stuff that they're bringing in. Like that's their sort of first initial thing.
Mhm.
And that's like sort of what Feng Hao, that's where their fortune comes, is from buying off the river and then reselling or reparceling to others. So that is their business. But he has people that do that for him. So
Okay.
if that makes any sense, but there is
Absolutely.
just sort of this sort of very lively thing, and then a long ride to get to actually where you can cross the river, where it like narrows again.
Okay.
Um,
I think as you are riding towards the north gate, there will be a hail, and you will see there is Nan, or is that Gon?
God,
Gon, who is on horseback, and he will say, Lulian.
God, a pleasure to see you.
The pleasure is mine. Where are you headed this fine day? I did not know you rode.
Uh, yes, I do. I'm
Apparently hard enough that you require 2 horses.
yes, and she goes, I am uncertain, but I think that someone may be returning with me. So that is my hope.
And so you are headed out? Where are you headed?
And she goes, I was going to go to the Hanging Bridge, to Hanging Bridge.
That's over a day from here.
Wait a minute, I thought it would be a day's journey, and then so
Well,
okay,
it's sort of a little bit later in the day, so
yeah, okay, yes,
it would be uncharitable for me to allow you to make such a long journey by yourself. I have ridden up to the north and back several times, and I know the road. I know the safe ways to go and the places to stay.
oh,
Perhaps I could join you.
yeah, it would be sensible of me to accept your offer. She goes, I have a map, but I do not know the road myself.
Excellent. Then I will I will ride with you. You are lucky in that I have no engagements for the next couple of days. So if you will permit me to act as your escort, I would be most grateful.
Ah, I cannot refuse. Thank you.
And he will fall in alongside you as you ride. How do you feel about this?
You say, I am grateful and I am marveling at it, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
I'm like, seems incredibly fortuitous.
So is that a little bit of worry about the coincidence of it or not?
I don't think there's any worry because there's been no, like, she's only talked to Feng Chao Li, so it's not like anyone would know what her plans
Certainly, there's no way anyone who was
were.
that
Exactly.
could have seen Headless Dog arrive at your place and see you
Know where
gather
they were
things and
coming
head
from.
out. Yes, okay,
Exactly. Exactly.
absolutely. So no inner conflict then.
Hmm. Oh, oh, there could be plenty of other inner conflict, but not about that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you will travel along. Uh he is a companionable writing partner.
Mhm.
He is very much of the I Spy with my little eye, the school of keeping things going and talking as you're riding along.
All right.
Um, and he never asks at all who you're going to see, who you're meeting, any of those details. Does not at all.
Really?
Yes,
And she sort of yeah, that's where I think the inner conflict starts to pop in, is that she's like made up some fascinating lies that not needed to use them.
do you want to roll inner conflict? You get to mark
Sure.
XP when you do.
Yeah, exactly. So may as well, right?
Yeah. What do you want to
Okay.
roll that with? You
Oh,
can roll that with anything
I
except for wood.
exactly. So that's a good question. Um, Still getting used to my stats here.
Absolutely.
Wow. Why is water so dang useful? We
Once
can
you put
do as
awareness on
metal.
something,
Yeah,
what
you know
player
what?
but
Yeah,
players will
awareness is
gravitate to that. So
exactly. It's hard not to. How about reflection, calculation reflection? We'll use metal.
okay,
So that's me just rolling and then 2D 2d6 strength.
okay,
It's a 7. At
that's a
least it's
seven.
not a failure.
So you have two choices here, sort of.
I know.
One is to mark metal to keep
Mhm.
yourself kind of okay. This is okay. We're fine. The other is to, at some opportune moment, attempt to lose him.
Oh, I think I'm gonna mark metal. But
Okay.
in that thing where she's like going, okay, this could be very bad, but I need to know if it's bad. So now I'm stuck because even though I realize it's bad, I can't really, that kind of thing where she's in that loop and now she has to figure out what she's gonna do. So I look at that as a sort of paralysis. That makes sense there.
Absolutely.
All right.
Uh, so I think we're going to cut. There's uh, uh, a a brief in scene. Uh, he pays for the inn, like doesn't even just as a courtesy. So you get a room, and uh, you have a decent meal at this roadside tavern. Uh, and the next morning, you set out, and you will arrive mid the next morning at Hanging Bridge. And there is the town there. There's the bridge. There are people around. They have people that do as well a kind of almost a cliff diving thing. Uh, some of them go along the cliff on ropes to get eggs out of various nests that are scattered along here because it's a particularly auspicious point. Because of course a lot of the birds then uh, uh, go into the village to pick up refuse and things like that, and things are thrown off. But there are also people that do the drop down the gorge into the river on ropes to do a kind of a fishing there. It's more of a young man's daring thing than anything else. But there are definitely a lot of people around. So you have a move.
I am looking for this person.
Okay.
All right.
So would you please roll Trail of the Everlasting Hero? And what do you want to roll that with?
Um, let's see here. I'm gonna roll. Oh, how about might need to fight, so I'm gonna use water again.
Okay. Then let's have you roll.
Okay. 2d6, add 1.
Okay.
11, 12. It's a
Okay.
12 roll.
So one of the things is once you get there and settle in, Gon says, well, I would tie my horse up here at this inn. I have some business with some merchants in the area. If I will meet you back here once you've concluded your business.
Well, that seems more than reasonable. Thank you so much. This has been a very pleasant trip so far.
Oh, good, good. I am very glad to hear that. And he not suspiciously at all heads off. And I think we cut to you, the montage of you talking to people, asking questions, consulting, and then till you get to somebody who says, yeah, I saw a couple of I saw the Pang brothers. They're from Purity Sword. I saw them early this morning heading across the bridge to the far end, and they had and they whatever Crystal Rat's cover name is here. And it did seem like that young person was not perhaps going along entirely willingly, but one does not ask questions of the wuxia.
Hmm. I think they might have gone.
Well, the bridge is not well used except by foresters and things like that. So it, the bad end of the bridge is sometimes where people do things.
All right. Oh.
And I think we cut to this long span bridge that goes across. It is absurdly long for the era, of course. Wide. It is not well trafficked. One of the things is that the road actually doesn't go on the other side. It used to, but what happened that made that other
I think there was
road
a
there?
landslide and
Yeah,
it blocked it like not very far down. So it's like,
yeah. So people don't really travel through there. It's mostly people who will go across the bridge and then up into the woods or mountains to do gathering or things like that. So it is relatively untended. People mostly go and follow the road along the side of the gorge on the side that has the village.
okay.
And I think that you will move with some care and quiet, and eventually you will see a pair of brothers, uh, identical twins, perhaps. And you can see that they are at the edge of the bridge, and you see them looking down, and then they start pulling up on this rope, and you see them pull this rope up a long way, and then you hear them. They don't pull it up all the way, but they do lean over, and you hear one of them say, "And now, will you kindly tell us what you know?" Ah, well then. And they go and let go of the rope again. What do you do?
So is it tied to something?
It is tied to the bridge. They are clearly bungee dunking this person from this high thing, and probably without a lot of discretion about how they're going to bounce against the rocks and things. Potentially. What do you do?
I mean, I can't get to the rope, right? So
There are the two of them. The rope is between them. It's tied to the bridge. You are
Can I,
a wuxia
I am a wuxia
warrior.
thing, and I know, and I think that, and I have a horse, right?
If you, well, I'm guessing you
No,
probably didn't necessarily
oh,
ride your horse down here, but with that 12, we can say you have your horse at hand.
okay. I was just thinking I could sort of run at them and then spring off them from the horse to give me even more of an advantage in fearsomeness, if that made any sense.
Okay.
So,
So would your goal be to like, kind of, uh, scatter them, or do
yes,
you want to?
exactly.
Okay.
So I don't want to fight two coordinating folk.
Okay. So that feels to me like that's going to be overcome.
Okay,
This is you doing something under pressure to try and drive them back to give you the space that you need.
exactly. Um, okay. So that is me. Oh God, sorry, I'm getting used to this thing here again. Okay, let's see here. So I think that's speed. So I'm
Okay.
rolling with fire.
Let's have you roll with fire.
Okay. So it's 2d6. And that's a 11.
That is an 11. So you ride, you leap off the horse, and suddenly you're on the wide rail of this and down. And I imagine that we see your short staff kind of ting tang out, and they are shocked and driven backwards, and you'll hear the sploosh. The rope is still tied onto there.
Okay.
Uh, but and so they have been driven back for the moment. You have a space here. They've been separated apart.
All right.
So that may give you the edge if you want to engage them, or do you want to do something else?
It's going to take me a while to haul him up with my back to him. So I have to at least drive them away.
Okay.
Um,
So that's going to be dual.
okay. That's gonna, all right, let's try it. I've rolled too well, so now is when the fails will start.
Okay.
So let's do it.
So you have split them
All right.
individually. They are on your scale. And that was the right call to make to spread them apart. And so we'll say you leap at the right hand, Pang brother.
All right.
And let's have you roll.
Okay. So 2d6, and I'm rolling with wood, of course, it right
That's
here.
right.
So that's an 8.
That is an 8. So what is your pick from the same scale?
Okay, okay. It's dual. Ooh, let's see here. Oh, this is win at a cost.
Mm-hmm.
How about they escape?
Okay. So this
I
one,
don't want to kill them. I just want them gone.
okay.
So
So you will push one of them back with like, what do you do that makes it so they're thinking better of this?
I think there's that thing where I come in and, I've come speeding in. I jump off my horse. I stand there. He starts to come at me. And that's when I swing and I just grab him on his knee. And it's so stingingly, blindingly painful that he literally like screams and, falls back. But his knee still works. So he just takes off running because it hurts.
Yeah,
Does that
he
make
falls
any sense?
backwards
Yeah.
away because it hurts. Uh, I think though that as you do that, there is that feeling as these hands fall on your shoulders and someone lifts up and tries to bodily throw you off the bridge. So I think that is the other target. They are not dueling you, but I do think you need to overcome to avoid being flung off of the bridge.
Okay. Well, it's a bridge. maybe fire is better in this moment. Creativity and speed. I think speed may help me out here. Okay. So I'm gonna roll 2d6.
Okay.
12.
So tell me what that looks like. Like, how do you do this? That looks awesome.
Think he grabs me, he picks me up, I stick one foot out behind me, and I get that sort of foot on the railing, and I actually kick back at him just as I swing my staff down behind me, and I hit him like right on one of the elbows that he's caught me with. So he sort of has to drop me, and I've got that sort of thing. So I actually end up like stomping on him when he falls back.
Okay. He'll fall away.
I mean, I
And
step on his foot, maybe.
yeah,
Is that right?
you kind of catch yourself. Kind of, we have that moment where you like at the railing of the bridge and then back.
Yeah.
And he will draw his blade and come at you.
Mm,
And you can see this is purity sword style. And he is going to attempt to run you through.
mm. All right. Well then, yes, I will roll with my style. So 2d6 plus 2. That's 10.
That is 10. So tell me what you do to drive him back.
Um, okay. So purity sword style is it's beautiful. It's sort of a strangely beautiful style, but it does have this thing where there's always that moment where they do the in the middle of the thing, they'll sort of stop and put the blade up and put their other hand against it to like it's almost like a show off moment. And I think that's just when she's waiting for that, and when they start to like move it again is when she hits the sword with her rod and hits it like in the direction he was going to move it, so it goes way further than it means to, and it's also stinging his hand. So it's just that
Stinging.
moment of the
Yeah. A couple of follow-ups. You said you wanted to show mercy, so do
yeah
you? Okay.
yeah that is
Yeah. So you get to mark XP.
okay.
And I think they clearly are telling themselves they were taken by surprise, and that there must be more of you, and so on, and they will go dashing towards the closest end of the bridge to get away from here.
All right.
Essentially, you hear them saying, "There must be more of them," and they take off.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't go, no, it's just me. So okay. And then I think the
You
thing that
see,
I
the
do is
rope is rather taut right now,
I know I'm gonna
and
pull it
maybe
up.
not particularly well tied off.
Oh no. All right, I'm gonna start doing that. My hope is to get enough of it so that I can actually have my horse help me pull it out, like get it tied to the horse
Okay.
or get it wound around something that the horse can then pull.
And well, it's heavy because you've got the weight of a person, you've got the length of the rope, and you've got the river working against it as you're kind of pulling up. And I imagine there is that strain before we see you get that horse on there, and then march it across, and then it's finding a cross beam to kind of like use it to pull and so on, and it takes much longer than you would have liked before you pull up this poor bedraggled person who is shivering from the cold.
Okay. And I will pull them up and I'll go, let's get you back to town. We'll get you to an inn. Yes?
So cold.
Yes,
so cold.
exactly.
The water is so cold.
Sorry. And I will put them on the horse.
Okay.
And
They
I'll
just
give them my cloak.
shivering, even with the cloak on. It's clear they've been in the dunk tank for a while. And they will you'll get them into town. You'll go to the inn that you stopped at before, and bring them inside, and the innkeep kind of looks at you but doesn't ask questions, and will put you by a fire pot, and thank thank you.
It's the least I could do.
And they clearly have kind of the an accent that places them as being from the West.
Male, female, young, old?
It's actually hard to tell
Okay, fine with me.
about gender. They look fairly young,
Okay,
but they even if it's damp, you can't necessarily tell whether it's a man or a woman.
okay. Um, and I will go and I probably have a cloak that I plan to, wear on the way back. And say, okay, here, let's get you changed into dry clothes.
Yes. Uh, and you will get
Ooh,
them.
yeah, I'll pay to have a bath drawn. How's that?
Okay.
There you go.
Oh yes, please, 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 please. And I assume you give them the sign, countersign.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. But
They will be relieved when they hear that and realize that, in fact, oh, this is good. This is good. I think to complicate things, as you've had this bath drawn and that you've sent this person off, that's about the time that Gon returns.
mm,
Lulian.
ah, John, how are you doing?
Fine. Your horse is wet.
It is. She sort of stops and says, unwise. And she sort of says, someone had a bad fall into the river. So I tried to
But
help
it's
them back out.
such a long way down to the river.
Exactly.
How did you
A
help them
rope.
back? Oh, you had a rope.
They had a rope,
They
but
had a
they
rope.
still fell.
So they were climbing down on a rope?
I think that was their plan at one time.
That
But
does
then
not seem wise. Well, it is good that a person of good character came along and was able to rescue them. Were you able to find the person that you were looking for?
and she goes, I think that they've moved along.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
That's okay.
Yeah. And I think after a bit, we'll see Crystal Rat come out. Your cloak, their semi-dried clothing. They look at you. They look at Gon, and they kind of come over and sit.
Mhm. And I said, so you'll be coming back to town?
Uh, yes, I was. Yes, I was heading back there. Thank you again for your rescue.
No problem.
Is this your colleague?
This is Gon. He was here on business as well.
Business?
I look at Gon, I raise my eyebrow.
Yes, I have business. I see. A business. I see, I see. Well, again, thank you. Uh, uh, I, I didn't see what happened, but I appreciate you being able to dispatch those ruffians. Thank
Least I could
God.
do.
Like eyes kind of narrow a little bit. Ruffians?
Yeah, there was just a few people hanging around up there.
And they weren't helping this.
And not at all.
Well, then this person, it was very lucky that you stumbled upon.
Mhm.
And they will go, yes, this humble person was very, very lucky. And there'll be that bit we get cleaned up. And I think that they will get themselves settled. And there is a moment there when, as you're getting the horses together, and it's very clear to you that Crystal Rat kind of, you're not sure if they're gender fluid or NB or gender ambiguous, but definitely they, them, for that, them. They will take a moment to come over to you and say, "It is good that we are headed back to town. I have overheard a plot by some people, and I hope that your father will be able to prevent an assassination."
Same. Office of the Magistrates will be able to.
Oh, good, good.
We need to get you back to town, perhaps. Well, if you feel like it, you can tell me. And she sort of stops and says, "Right now, my father is out of town."
That's not good. If we don't get back soon and warn them, I fear what will happen to this merchant, Fang Hao.
And she sort of stops and goes, "Oh, we need to get back immediately."
And that's where we're ending.
Okay.
Seem reasonable?
Oh, yeah. Very
Okay.
good.
So we take a look at your entanglements, which you need
Yes.
to write out there fully.
Oh, dang
Your
it.
entanglement thing, so that
Okay.
we can refer
Yes.
to them.
You are right.
It definitely feels like here with the presence of God, you interacted with your romantic entanglement.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's 2 XP.
Okay. Yay.
And you took your XP for your inner conflict, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And for my, there was one other
Mercy.
thing. Mercy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Seem reasonable?
yes, it
Okay.
does.
Good place to stop.
Yes.
Okay. Then that is our first setup and play episode for this one-on-one Hearts of Wulin series.
Excellent.
Okay. As always, when we play these games, if when we get a session or two in, you're like, I wish I hadn't chosen this move. I wish I had done something different. Again, feel free to do that. We'll check in. Again, the same thing with entanglements. Again, entanglements are a living document thing. So just keep that in mind. And you do have 2 elements marked. So
Yes.
yeah.
That's going to be a struggle, isn't it? Yeah.
Right. Now,
Okay.
here is the other way that you can do that besides spending bonds. We can kind of modify that. Basically, if you have time, always remember you can narrate your downtime to get an element cleared. But the other things you can do is if you want to roll comfort and support to represent you interacting with an NPC and having them help you out, then we kind of have you roll, but with essentially a little bit of a reversal there, that by talking to them, you feel better kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So that's where we will handle that. All right. I am going to stop the recording.
Okay.